There's definitely a lot of negative comments that I've already seen of this news. You know, people not happy with Dream Theater getting rid of Mike Mangini like that. A bunch of haters already saying, oh, this is just a cash grab. They're doing it for money. What's up, guys? Welcome back to a new video. Today is a very special day in prog metal history. Today is one of those days in the prog metal community that will never be forgotten. And if you haven't heard by now, you can see what I'm wearing. That's the Majesty symbol. Today, Dream Theater announced that Mike Portnoy is officially back in the band. Yes, that's right. That is correct. Mike Portnoy is officially back in the band after having retired from the band 13 years ago. Oh my goodness, there's just so much to talk about. I'm just going to go through my thoughts, discuss some things. We'll see how this video ends, but you guys probably don't know, but I consider myself a diehard Dream Theater fan. Been fan of their music, of their concept, of everything since 1998 when I was just 12 years old. And I fell in love with their music, their style. They opened up the prog metal world for me. I've seen all the different phases and eras, if you want to call it like that, in Dream Theater. Being witness to this new era of Dream Theater is so exciting, super exciting. So I guess what I want to do is let's go over the press release while we prepare gears and talk more in detail about this situation. So hang tight, grab yourselves a coffee, a tea, water, whatever. Sit tight and let's discuss this. October 25th, 2023. Wow. What an incredible day. Let's hop on over their official website. All right. So that's the picture of their press release for today. It's funny because a lot of people thought this was fake. They officially announced this at, I believe, 10 a.m. this morning. Yeah, just a lot of people saw it and they're like, no way. There's no way this is true. But it was, and it wasn't until a couple of hours later that people realized it's true. The return of drummer Mike Portnoy. So there it is. Reunited at last. Okay, so let's go over the press release. Dream Theater announced the return of drummer Mike Portnoy, October 25, 2023. Grammy-winning progressive music titans Dream Theater are announcing the return of drummer Mike Portnoy to the group. Portnoy will reunite with guitarist John Petrucci, bassist John Myung, the trio that formed the band at Berklee College of Music in 1985. That was a year before I was born. Along with longtime members, vocalist James Labrie and keyboardist Jordan Rudess, Dream Theater will be going into the studio to begin working on their 16th studio album and the first with Portnoy since 2009's Black Clouds and Silver Linings. So that right there is like two things just bam in your face. Portnoy's back and they're in the studio recording their 16th album. That is insane. The press release starts with a quote from Mike Mangini. So let's read Mike Mangini's quote. We can discuss after we read it. Let's take a look. I understand Dream Theater's decision to get Mike Portnoy back at this time, states Mike Mangini. As was said from day one, my place was not to fill all the roles that Mike held in the band. I was to play the drums in order to help the band carry on. My main role of keeping our live show working tightly on a nightly basis was an intense and rewarding experience. Thankfully, I got to experience playing music with these iconic musicians, as well as some fun times laced with humor. I also really enjoyed spending lots of time with the crew, and then there's the Grammy win, which was amazingly satisfying. To the fans, thank you so much for being amazing to me. I cherish the pictures I have of You all losing your minds and having fun. Finally, I really love the band, the crew, and management, and wish them the entire organization all the best. Okay, so that is Mike Mangini's quote. Now, a lot of people have sort of read in between the lines here, and a lot of people are speculating that um, that Mike Mangini was, I don't know if fired is the greatest word to use, but pretty much the band itself, Dream Theater as an organization, decided to end or cut ties with Mike Mangini. And again, this is a press release, and from what we've seen all day, it's a very calculated move. It's something that seems to have been planned for a long time. From what I see, I don't think there's any bad blood, or I don't think there's any, uh, you know, a bad relationship with Mangini in the band. I guess what's interesting here is to figure out or try to speculate why Dream Theater decided to cut ties with Mangini, because clearly states, I understand Dream Theater's decision to get Mike Portnoy back at this time. Okay, so sounds like everything was fine and dandy, and Mangini was doing his thing, working with Dream Theater as a drummer, and then he suddenly found out about this. So, probably behind the scenes, some talks were going on with Mike Portnoy and Dream Theater for this to, to pass, or for this to happen. Yeah, I personally don't think there's anything strange, bad, or weird behind the scenes that happened. It's just, I guess the timing was the best for this decision. Let's read the next. Mike Mangini's drumming is otherworldly, and I'm extremely grateful for the time he spent with us in Dream Theater. I'm very proud of all the amazing music we made together that culminated in our first Grammy win last year, and the countless magical moments that we've shared on stage over the past 13 years. I wish him all the best of success in his future musical endeavors, explains John Petrucci. I'm incredibly excited to welcome Mike Portnoy back into Dream Theater. As an original founding member, longtime friend, and incredibly talented and creative drummer, I know that his return will bring a renewed spirit, passion, and energy into DT that all of us, including our fans, will joyfully welcome. I can't wait to roll up our sleeves and get back into this in the studio together. So that's Petrucci's statement. One thing that is for sure is when Portnoy left the band, pretty much Petrucci took full control of everything related to Dream Theater. So pretty much Petrucci was the leader during all these 13 years. Let's go to the next quote. It's great to be back true to form with our original drummer, Mike Portnoy. We started playing together as Majesty almost 40 years ago, and I am excited to see what this next phase of Dream Theater creates for the future. I wish nothing but the best for Mike Mangini for all the blood, sweat, and tears he put into DT during his 13-year tenure with the band, adds John Myung. A man with few words. Let's talk about James's quotes here. Having Mike Mangini with us all these years has been quite simply a terrific ride. He is one of the most amazing and naturally gifted drummers I have had the pleasure of working with. Thank you, Mike. Life is a very strange ride, and I guess that's what makes it all the more interesting and forever engaging. Having Mike Portnoy back in the band is exactly where we and things should be. Things have a way of going full circle, and in this case, it makes perfect sense. I am excited with the prospects of this classic DT lineup being reunited. I can say with absolute confidence this will be the final incarnation of DT, with many chapters still to be written well into our future. Onward and upward, guys. Welcome back, Mike Portnoy, states James Labrie. So out of all the quotes here, James Labrie's is the more eye-catching, I think. He talks about how this was the right time. This was the right time for DT to reunite with Portnoy. And he says, having Mike Portnoy back in the band is exactly where we and things should be. That's interesting. I mean, I guess we will find out with time, what triggered this. Because if you followed Mike Portnoy's career, it seemed like any project that he would take over was and has been successful. We're talking about the Winery Dogs, we're talking about Sons of Apollo, we're talking about Transatlantic, and all the discs he wrote with Neil Morse. So definitely, it's going to be interesting to find out later what really triggered this, because over the past summer, a lot of pictures were floating around on the internet that during Dream Sonic's tour, which I attended, there were a bunch of shows, like a handful of shows, where Mike Portnoy and his wife were seen with the crowds attending these shows. So, I want to say, as of late, like the past couple of years, it seemed like the relationship between Mike Portnoy and Petrucci was very healthy. Of course, if you follow this band, and you've listened to that album, that 2021 they released Liquid Tension Experiment 3. So really, they started working together during COVID times, and not only Liquid Tension Experiment 3, but also John Petrucci's latest solo album. So really, their relationship started back up again during those times, during COVID, during Petrucci's writing sessions for his solo album, and then Liquid Tension Experiment 3. So who knows, man? This decision probably happened, or these talks started probably 3 or 4 years ago, and it is until now that they released the information to the public. But probably in the past 2 or 3 years, they were refining the details of their reunion, all the legal stuff that they had to probably go through, agreements and all that kind of stuff. With Mike Portnoy back in the band, Dream Theater will definitely sound like they used to sound before he left. That's an obvious statement, but what I'm trying to say is each drummer has their own style. They have their own skills, all that stuff, creativity, artistry that they bring to the table. But definitely, there's no denying that Portnoy's drumming in Dream Theater is what makes the band. As one of the founding members, it's just something you can't deny, right? And I think that goes for any original band. Any band that is as successful as Dream Theater, the original members, they have the chemistry all together to create the music that they became famous for, right? And then created these masterpieces all along those 25 years where Portnoy was in the band. It's just incredible. And this came out of nowhere, literally nowhere. Like I said in the beginning of the video, people thought it was a prank or a joke, and it was not. And all throughout these 13 years, I've seen fans claim Portnoy back in the band. It's one of those topics that almost becomes controversial, because a lot of people had very strong opinions of Mike Mangini, and they would go as far as not treating the guy well, which I am totally against. That's a horrible attitude to have as a fan of their band, right? So it was a rough ride for all of us fans, because we were just polarized a lot by not having Portnoy in the band. Let's go back and read a couple more quotes. Mike Mangini is one of the most exceptional drummers on earth, and I feel privileged that we got to create a whole body of work with him. I will always be grateful for the time we shared in the Dream Theater universe. Jordan Rudess continues. This is Jordan speaking. We are so excited to reunite the core Dream Theater family. There is a resonance of spirit and vision that is unique and goes beyond words within our relationship with Mike Portnoy. On stage and off, there is no denying the magic that happens when we are together. I'm thankful we have the opportunity to work together again as Dream Theater, and am looking forward to sharing our excitement and passion with our amazing fans for a long time to come. And then finally, let's read Mike's quote. I am overwhelmed with joy to be returning home and reuniting with my brothers. There is so much shared history between us all, so many memories, so much music. To think we're coming up on 40 years since this journey began. The idea of creating new music together is so exciting, and I absolutely cannot wait to hit the road and get to play live for a whole new generation of fans that weren't ever able to see this lineup before. There's no place like home, exclaims Mike Portnoy. So, wow. I mean, there's just a bunch of questions that one can think about from this. A few points that I want to talk about is back when Mike decided to leave the band Portnoy in 2010. A couple of things that he said throughout the years that he was out of the band is that he wanted the band to take a hiatus, and he wanted to do that because he thought that Dream Theater needed a break. And it turns out when he brought that to the table, nobody else wanted that, only him. So I guess that's one of the reasons that he decided to leave the band in 2010. And then there was this whole misinterpretation of him leaving, because I remember after he left Dream Theater, he went to collaborate with Avenged Sevenfold, and man, fans were pissed. They were absolutely pissed. But as soon as he left the band, he became a free agent, and he just went to participate and collaborate with many other musicians, and very cool projects came out during that time. But it was mainly the fact that Portnoy wanted a break, wanted the band to take a break, because he thought that the cycles Dream Theater was going through were nonstop. I remember him saying in interviews throughout the years that Dream Theater put out an album, went on a tour, and then took a short break, and then came back and did the same all over again. So he definitely expressed during his time in Dream Theater and when he left the band that he was kind of getting tired of that. It's interesting to think about how they're going to approach this new era. Like I'm thinking they must have sat down and write down agreements and write down conditions on what the coming years of Dream Theater was going to look like for all of them. Because if that's one of the reasons he left the band originally, what does it mean today? Those were the conditions back then. Nothing really has changed in Dream Theater in the past 13 years. As soon as he left, they recruited Mike Mangini, and they immediately went into the studio. So they released an album in 2011, went on a tour, took a short break, got into the studio, released an album in 2013, and went on a tour again, took a short break, and now this break was a little bit longer, and that's when they released the next album in 2016. And then same cycle, went on a tour for that album, took a break, and then released another album in 2019, Distance Over Time, same cycle, and then in 2021, same cycle. So really nothing has changed in how Dream Theater operates. So I'm wondering what sort of agreements they came to make this work, because I don't think Mike Portnoy is at a point in his career where, you know, coming from this period of 13 years and creating all these very successful projects, I wouldn't think that he would be open or willing to take a step back and, be inserted into something that he started to dislike in the early 2000s. So again, super interesting to think about what sort of agreements they came to make it all work. And then, like Mangini says, he fully understood that he was hired as a replacement. Dream Theater gave him the job of being the drummer. And as the corporation that Dream Theater is, they decided to take away his job as a drummer, which kind of sucks. I think it's horrible to be removed from your position, and especially Mike Mangini, who's just a sweetheart of a guy. He's super chill. He's dedicated. He's an incredible drummer. Pretty sure Dream Theater is one of his biggest achievements in his career. So, just imagine, try to put yourself in his shoes. One day, he's rehearsing, he's working with Dream Theater, and then a couple of days later, they tell him, "Hey, you know what? We're going to cut ties of your service here in the band." So I'm pretty sure it was shocking to Mike Mangini, as it would be shocking to anyone, especially knowing that you have given it all on the stage and you have given it all when you're creating music with the rest of the guys. But I don't know, man. Could this have been like a contract and the contract expired? Maybe. And I'm thinking about that now, probably. What if this was established, 13 years ago? What if Mike Portnoy agreed to step away from the band for this given time for like 10 years or something? And maybe they had this agreement back then and thought, you know what, let's talk again in 10 years and we'll see where we're at. And whenever they hired Mangini, maybe he knew there was an end to his career with the band. I don't know. I'm speculating right now, but just from the words that Labrie used here, that it was the right time for both. It was the right time for Dream Theater and for Mike Portnoy. I don't know. It makes me think of all these little possibilities. And then comes how Mike Portnoy's future as a drummer, as a solo drummer, as a collaborator with other musicians. What is that going to look like? How do all the rest of his band stand? Where do the Winery Dogs sit? Where does Sons of Apollo sit? Where does Transatlantic? Where does Neil Morse? Where does all his other projects? During his first 25 years with Dream Theater, he had all these side projects and everything. He was one out of the entire band that as soon as he would stop working with Dream Theater, he would hop on to the next band or project or whatever. He himself has said it. He's a workaholic in that sense. And these guys are getting older. These guys are approaching their 60s. Some of them are already in their 60s. How much is Mike Portnoy going to keep working? Like how intense is he going to keep, working in his career? Is he going to keep this level of, engagement with other bands at the same time as Dream Theater? Is he going to give up one for the other? Is he going to give up the Winery Dogs and all those other projects for Dream Theater? Is he going to stay put? I read a couple of interesting comments in social media, and people theorizing and thinking a lot of different things. One of them was, well, what if the band is planning their next 10 years and then calling it quits? Like I said, they're all approaching their 60s, and a couple of them are already in their 60s, like Rudess and Labrie. So what if they're planning, I don't know, maybe 2 or maybe 3 albums, and then that's it, and then fully retire and go out with a bang, go out as the original lineup and then they fully retire, and then they just go on to different paths and do their own thing. What if that's in their possible agreement that they had? Because, of course, you can't go on forever. There has to be a point where you fully retire and all that stuff and enjoy the rest of your life. Being in their 60s, I'm pretty sure they're already thinking of that. So yeah, how intense is the rest of their career going to be? And I'm just looking forward to seeing what that's gonna look like. So yeah, man, so many questions, and so little answers right now. But of course, the internet exploded with this news, and it's been all over social media, Facebook, X, Instagram, everywhere. Let's go to Mike Portnoy's Instagram page. So pretty much the text that I read to you, the press release is they shared that all over social media. So there's nothing different in this text than in the press release. It's pretty much all the same information. So like I said, it feels like a very planned thing, a very well executed plan to do this. So I want to show you his stories on Instagram. So there they are, Petrucci and Portnoy. And there's Loudwire, it's official. Dream Theater reunite with Mike Portnoy. Revolver magazine, Battery magazine, everyone. Remark sticks. The world balance was partially restored today. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. What a mad day for the progressive metal world. That is correct. Yes, it's a very, very, very important day. Melody Portnoy sharing Home from Metropolis Part 2. Very aptly. And she says, this has truly been the hardest secret I've ever had to keep. My family is back together. Lots of joyful tears today. So this is what I mean. Mike Portnoy's daughter, Melody Portnoy, says, this has been truly the hardest secret I've ever had to keep. So this means that this was in the works for a while. Like I said, I think this started to brew like around the time Petrucci recorded his solo album and Liquid Tension Experiment 3. I'm pretty sure that was the tipping point. Like from there on, they started to realize or see, wow, we still have it. We still have it. And then this is a very cute picture because it's all of the kids. I believe that's Petrucci's daughters. Those two are Mike Portnoy's kids. So they grew up together, So they're family literally. So that's Sammy Petrucci. Childhood is about to be relived so hard. So excited. And so excited for Dream Theater and Mike Portnoy and us because we get to do this again. Like I said, this is such a sweet picture, all the kids back together. They grew up together, family, literally. There's Rudess. Great to have you back, buddy. Again, look, seriously, I had to think twice if it was April 1st today. Still remember the day of the sad news in 2010. Having him back now 13 years later is unreal. Pic taken from the first time we met. I don't know who that guy is, but I'm sorry. I don't recognize him, but so yeah, there it is. So Mike says, the reaction today has been absolutely overwhelming. I'm still playing catch up on all of the messages, texts, etc. Thank you everybody for your incredible response, and I can't wait for this next chapter. So there it is. And over here on X, when they announced via this Twitter post or this X post, they're now at 1.1 million views. So this was a very, very, very important day in metal prog history. Everybody's commenting, oh my god, it's happening. Clip here from The Office. Yeah, man, it's definitely something that the prog metal community had been, clamoring for. There's a lot of people that over the years were just not happy. And this is not to say that, because of the work Mangini did. Like Rudess says, the body of work that they did with Mangini is off the charts. It's incredible. It's just mind blowing. Um, but but Portnoy has this charisma, this very noticeable energy on stage, and his chops and his fills, the way he plays the drums is just very very characteristic of Dream Theater. I guess I want to close with this. In my time being a huge fan of this band, listening to all of their albums since 1998 up to now. Um, I've been to 9 of their concerts in total in the past almost 20 years. I saw the band with Mike Portnoy 3 times in the early 2010s, and then a total of 6 times since Mangini was in the band. So it's funny because now I want to match those numbers. I need to see Dream Theater with Mike Portnoy 3 times here in the near future so that now they're matched. But yeah, I mean, I remember this was in like when was it? 2011 when I saw them for the first time with Mangini. I remember, standing in front of the stage and listening to the first couple of songs, and I turned to my older brother and looked at him, and I said something like, "Do you notice that? Like Mike Mangini's way of playing the drums was very noticeable at first. It was very, and I'm not using these terms to knock him down or whatever, but his technique was, he sounded very on the click, very like a perfect sound. There were hardly any nuances to his playing. So it almost sounded like they were playing with backing tracks. I'm not saying that they've done that, but I'm saying that with Mangini's highly technical way of playing the drums, at times I felt like it was just too perfect. The execution of his drum fills were just like on the dot and super perfect, that it almost felt unnatural or unreal. I don't know if that makes sense, but it's so weird because with Portnoy, he has so much energy on stage, and you can see it, and he's the hype man. He just stands up and hypes everyone, and he pretty much has the energy of a almost like a front man of the band. Mangini, when he was hired, he was pretty much just hired to be the drummer, and that's it. So it was very noticeable when I saw them first time in 2011, that absence of Portnoy's personality and on-stage persona, the absence of it was very noticeable. That's when I first realized, I thought, wow, this is very different. I mean, it was incredible. I'm not going to deny it. It was incredible. All the shows I've seen with Mangini were just absolutely nuts. That guy is an incredible drummer. But it just wasn't the same. It wasn't the same as the magic that Portnoy brings to the stage when they're together. So that is something that all of us fans are yearning, are missing. That is something that all of us fans wanted back desperately. And so now we have it. So again, 13 years later, let's see, it's 13 years and 45 days later. I'm just going to pull up here something really funny right before we end. I've been registered for Dream Theater newsletters since like forever. So here we have the actual newsletter that that all of us that were on this received on September 10, 2010 at 3 a.m. So this was Mike Portnoy's release right here. Wednesday, September 8, 2010. I'm about to write something I never imagined I'd ever write. After 25 years, I have decided to leave Dream Theater. the band I founded, led, and truly loved for a quarter of a century. Many people, this will come as a complete shock and will also likely be misunderstood by some, but please believe me that it is not a hasty decision. It is something I have struggled with for the last year or so. After having had such amazing experiences playing with Hale, Transatlantic, and Adventure Sevenfold this past year, I have sadly come to the conclusion that I have recently had more fun and better personal relations with these other projects than I have for a while now in Dream Theater. Please don't misinterpret me. I love the DT guys dearly and have a long history of friendship and bond that runs incredibly deep with them. It's just that I think we are in a serious need of a little break. Like I mentioned, he wanted a break and nobody else wanted it. Dream Theater was always my baby, and I nurtured that baby every single day and waking moment of my life since 1985, 24/7, 365. Never taking time off from DT's never-ending responsibilities, even when the band was off between cycles. Working overtime and way beyond the call of duty that most sane people ever would do for a band. But I've come to the conclusions that DT machine was starting to burn me out. So that it was burnout that he suffered. And I really needed a break from the band in order to save my relationship with the other members and keep my DT spirit hungry and inspired. You get the gist. But yeah, that was the original email. So yeah, that was the original email that was sent to everybody 13 years ago. Wow, this is a long video. I just had to get my thoughts out. And I'm super excited. I am looking forward to Dream Theater's new work and their upcoming tours and all that stuff. I mean, there's still stuff up in the air. Like, also, a lot of people are talking about James Labrie's voice, which, you know, I myself witnessed back this summer when I went to a Dream Sonic show. Definitely, James Labrie's voice is not the same as it was 15, 20 years ago. The guy has had a rough time with his voice. So I'm curious to see, you know, how they approach that in the coming albums. You know, it's also public knowledge that Mike Portnoy, you know, has expressed in the past how he hasn't been happy with James Labrie's voice. So I don't know. It's going to be really interesting what happens with these guys. I just truly hope that, you know, we have Dream Theater for the long run. If that's 10 years from now, I'm just, I'm going to be more than happy to have them around 10 more years, until they finally decided to call it quits once they hit 70 or whatever. Hopefully they never call it quits and they keep, you know, playing until they're 80 or something. But just time doesn't forgive, and time keeps ticking, and just you know, people get older, and it's just a fact of life. So I'm sure these guys are gonna make the best of these coming years for Dream Theater. Um, so like I said, I'm super stoked. This news made my whole day, man. Like my whole day. Happy Dream Theater Day. Mike Portnoy is back in the band after 13 years, October 25th, 2023. This is incredibly awesome. I hope you guys are as mad excited as I am, because this is it's just a dream come true, man. You know, the original essence is back, and I just hope they blow our minds with the next album and with the next work they do, like they always did in my personal case. If you stuck around the entire video, you have no idea how much I appreciate you. Give a like, comment down below. What do you think of this insane, incredible news? Let me know what your thoughts are and what your concerns are about this, about Mike Portnoy's return to the band. There's definitely a lot of negative comments that I've already seen of this news. people not happy with Dream Theater getting rid of Mike Mangini like that. A bunch of haters already saying, oh, this is just a cash grab. They're doing it for money. I read a ridiculous comment on social media, somebody saying that that they're doing it because Dream Theater doesn't sell out any shows anymore. Their concerts are half empty, and that just having Mike Portnoy back in the band is a boost for money and all that kind of stuff. And it's like, believe what you want to believe, but going as far as creating these negative narratives in your mind about this, I don't know, man. I think it's a stretch. I'm just happy that this happened. Because honestly, I never thought in my life that these guys would reunite. It was one of those things where I thought it was set in stone that Portnoy was never coming back to Dream Theater, but it happened. So we're here. So yeah. All right, I'll stop now. Again, thank you so much for watching. Give a like, comment below, and subscribe if you haven't already. So I hope you enjoyed this whole video, and let me know your thoughts. See you next time. Happy Dream Theater Day. Hell yeah.